Hi everyone. This is the first of 4 videos I'm going to show you. Um, if you have done some of the other art assignments for this week, you've already been introduced to pop art. And Andy Warhol was one of the most famous pop artists there was back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. And what pop art is basically making artwork out of everyday objects, things you see all the time, every day. Um, Andy Warhol was also fascinated with famous people, so he used famous people in a lot of his artworks as well. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us to draw something that was an everyday thing that has interest and detail. So I'd like you to choose a sneaker or a shoe that has some kind of color, nothing simple or plain, and some details would be really good too. That's why sneakers typically work well for this. Um, I've done this assignment with fourth graders even, and when you just break it down step by step, like I'm going to, the end results, they come out really nice. Also, as part of this art assignment, I have last year's seventh graders, 4 examples of their sneaker artwork. Now, 3 of the 4 have shoelaces of those seventh grade examples from last year. Mine obviously has shoelaces. That's a detail that you can add if you'd like, and you can leave it out if you want. That's fine, because without me being able to show you close up with your own art at your table in art, I'm not really able to, kind of show you exactly how to twist and make the shoelaces realistic. So if you want to take a good look at the samples that I did provide from last year's seventh graders and try to figure it out on your own, that's fine. Otherwise, you can just leave the shoelaces out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this first video, and I'm going to show you how to do the guide shapes slash contour or outline to get started. And it's very light and sketchy. And then we're going to make sure the proportions are also correct. And I'll tell you what that's all about in a minute. So the guide shape, I'm going to start with the toe part and curves down. So we're just doing light sketchy lines to get the basic shape of your shoe or sneaker. This is called the tongue part, this top part. So that's pretty tall and high. And then it dips down. Here's the part that you put your foot into. Now, when I talk about proportions, I talk about how all the parts relate to the whole. That's what proportions mean. Make sure everything's proportionate. So when I start, sketching this out, I want to make sure that the proportions are right, meaning this part of the heel of the shoe is a little bit lower than the tongue. So when I sketch out my basic guide shape, I want to make sure that this is lower than this. This has got some interesting curves. Let me put my dark notebook behind it, and you can see the different curves behind that heel. Right now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of make a curved line for that area, and we'll detail it and fine tune it later. And then this is the bottom of my sneaker. So you just kind of follow along of your shoe or sneaker. Of course, everything's very light. I can see this toe's got to come out further. And then I can erase the old line. And then it really kind of curves downward. There's that little curve up here, right here, the arch of the foot. And then it comes down into the big chunky heel. And now that I can see this area, I can see this is a lot lower than this. This goes high up. So I'm going to make a line that goes high up for that part of this sneaker right here. So I'm starting to fine tune it, look at the proportions, see how everything is relating to each other. The toe, the length of the toe, compared to this base of the foot where the arch is about halfway across the sneaker. And then I can erase some lines that I don't want anymore. So that initial guide shape kind of guided me, and now I know I have to make things a little bit different. Oh, let's see. So I haven't even done this part. This is like the tongue part right here, the inside of the sneaker. Just the outline, the contour line is what I focused on here. And don't darken in too much. You can make things a little darker as you feel like you're happy with them and you want to keep them. But you can always change, and you probably will want to change things later. This toe actually looks like it's more upward. So you just kind of play around with the outline. Erase the old lines you don't want or need. And now that I have the basic general outline, guideline, contour line of my sneaker, I want to go back in and really look at it. So I know that this part, this heel, kind of curves outward. So I'm going to make that happen. Curves outward and then comes back in. This whole sole, that's a nice curved line that goes right along the bottom. I want to put that in now. And it kind of wraps around from the back. This is actually a detail I should have waited for the next video, but I'll add it in now anyway. And it curves right up, and it gets smaller as it gets closer to the toe. Okay, let's get back to this area because that's an area that I was talking about before. So now that I have this white sole line in, I can see, my notebook again so you can really see. I can see it comes out, in, out, in, out. So I'm going to try to make that happen here. So it comes out, comes back in, comes back out. So now here's the new outline that I made. So that looks a little bit more like the sneaker itself. There's some shading here I'm going to add later. I can see because it actually kind of curves inward. Concave, I think it's called. And then there's going to be some shading I put in here. You know, here's a detail. Of course, the swoosh is a detail. I'm going to work my way in, but not right now. I'm just going to kind of do the outline. So that's the first video I have for you. And you just kind of generally sketch the outline of your sneaker using light sketchy lines, getting the shape down. Make sure your proportions are right. You don't want the sole to be all the way up here. You know, you just got to make sure everything's kind of accurate as you lay it all out. And I also think the tongue is a little bit higher, a little bit more pointed up. So that's the outline of my sneaker. My next video, I'm going to start to work inward and add more detail other than just the sole line.